Hello and welcome, as it is the end of the 12th day of April 2018. That of a Thursday, it's crypto day, but it's not the end of that day. Oh, there will be an end of crypto day at some point. Whether it's months, years, or decades, centuries. I don't know how long that will be, but it'll be the day after crypto day though. Okay, everything you do within your own risk, own reward, all that investment type of stuff, disclaimer, you know all that. Okay, 15-minute chart for Bitcoin. You know, the one thing that I don't like about this is, I wish I could save or lock the lines that I draw in here because I had all the Fibonacci lines on this Bitfinex Bitcoin chart, and 7,900 area was pretty big. Ooh, how is that resistance level doing? Well, it's doing fantastic from my point of view because price action came to that major key level earlier. And after this happened, after all the people that were able to buy at these cheaper prices, obviously this is at highs not seen in several weeks, so anyone who bought in the many days beforehand were in winning positions from those trades. They had opportunities to profit take. Some of them did. Not too many, obviously. Price action did this nice little curvy face type of pattern. And after breaking out above this resistance, we once again see you have the situation where you break out above, decent sized candle move. You do so from the 18 average of highs, which is pretty much always how it's got to be. But then you come back to where you come from. It takes 4 periods to do such. And then you lift off. And then the second time you get back to resistance. It makes it very difficult to be a seller in here because oftentimes all you're going to get is just a little bit of resistance. In fact, in this scenario, within this period in here, after coming to this resistance, it comes back to where it came from in here before what has been thus far the last leg. And now it's been several periods since this top on the 15-minute. From this red candle down, price action is consolidating. And yeah, so let's take a look at this at multiple time frames, or on multiple time frames rather. And it's just a beautiful day overall. And I got rid of my quote-unquote shorts, or I sold all of my TUSD today as I got into it there, as well as it was breaking down. And then during this entire period in here, I would just swing trade it up and down within the market. And then after this gain today, during its sideways consolidation, I decided to just sell it all because, well, I'm going to be fine if the market goes down, regardless of the situation. But as I look at this on a long-term perspective, to me as we stand, we really should only have one of 3 things happening. Number one is this is the end of the crypto game, which I don't think is going to happen, but in this situation I would expect a fast move. Most likely 3,000 isn't going to do well, or it's going to either not be support, be very little support, and then that 1,000 that I talk about would probably be support. This is again the worst case scenario. And then it would either be whatever support that's going to make a lower high, and then it's just going to be done after it breaks 1,000 to the downside. And in that situation, whether I have the amount of TUSD that I have or not, it's not going to really help too much anyway, considering I'm probably just going to exhaust it all out at 3,000 anyway. And then if it does come back to 3,000, situation 2, but instead of doing this in here, rather coming up, finding some support, and then rebuilding back higher, albeit maybe taking a decent amount of time to do so, then I'll be fine just trading along the way and just playing the volatility that the markets present itself. And then, of course, stage number 3 is this thing gets going and that the 18 average is going to resume a pattern of higher highs and higher lows like it has done so well for the entire bull market from 2015 on through the top at the end of 2017. Because it's going to come down to this test overall, and within this move as it's set up, it could very easily be that of a failed move or a move of reversal of trend. But we know the signs to look for in both case scenarios. This 18 average is going to help out very, very well. For when this situation here was either a break or a failed move, the cautionary signs came into place at this point here. And again, this is why I was entering the short positions in here, because it was basically as it was breaking down at 10,000. So this is when I decided that it was the best situation to do so. And that's what you look for a failed breakdown. But for this to be successful, then you're going to want to see what happens when you have the reversals. And let me just adjust this so I can draw around this again here. So in this case here, we can see that resistance would be established back on the summer of last year. This is $3,000. So, and about a little over a half a year, the price right now is over double. So people think of it as down a lot. Well, yeah, depending on what time frame you're starting from. This thing is up a lot, especially if I go even well before this with the much cheaper prices. But this is the day in which you see it's broken resistance. See, one thing I think would be really cool for a market order to have, this would be a really cool situation to have. Because before this green candle, you're seeing the prices in the 27s, 28s. You know it's got to have a clear break above 3,000. I'd like to put a buy order in. I want to buy Bitcoin, say, at 3,117. But I want to buy, and I want to buy, say, I don't know, 2 Bitcoin. But I want to do so when there's 2 Bitcoins available for bid at that price. It's got to be for that price, and maybe even and as low as, say, 3,101. So anywhere between that kind of deal. If a bid is in that range, say from 3,001 to 3,100 to 3,101 to 3,120, I want to buy a Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoins. And what that would do is make it so when something like this is happening, your buy order would automatically hit. Because you're waiting for the certain criteria conditions to hit. I don't know if that is available anywhere, but that would be pretty cool anyway. So regardless of the fact, when this is happening, that means your bias is to buy. And when a situation like this happens, if you wait for the price action to come back so you can get cheaper prices, you can see in this case it was very much unsuccessful. You're like, okay, now it's at 31, 32, come back down, or even up here at the end of the day, it's 32.63. I got a buy order already at 3,000 or 3,100 or even 30, whatever in this point. None of it was hitting. So this is the risk reward, where if you get in right when it breaks, as I mentioned, right when you finally see the bids high enough yet low enough where you can get in, and you have to be fast to do such. The risk there is that oftentimes you're going to get hit with some failed moves, and cheaper prices could very easily still come just by waiting. But by waiting here, if you're looking to get in on the BTC within this situation, the best pullback you had was to 3,600. And then if that's the case, if you want to talk about that, well, if you're good enough to pick in bottoms and tops, congratulations. You don't need this video, obviously. But There's always going to be the talk. Maybe you did get it. Maybe you got it at 37 or 38. Maybe you were trying to buy at 35 and you missed this one as well. So that's really the aspect towards the game. However, in this situation, you can see that it did come back to 3,000. Whether one was available to get that, but that's all part of this game. And as we wait for, or we're playing into the current session, this is that big defining moment, because it's, again, either going to, because anytime you have an attempt fail, because the statement's made that the trend is in early stages of recovery. So if the quote-unquote bulls fail at their announcement, well, that's when some interesting other side moves, failed move, fast move in the opposite directions, come into place. Switching over to the Litecoin chart, which has underperformed the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin making a huge statement on the Thursday session. Not as much so on the Litecoin one. However, within that being stated, after the rise on April 3rd and the major fall the day after, which is, this is a bear, if you look at textbooks, and I've seen this on the internet a few times, talking about this pattern with the big green up and the big red down immediately after this, that is major warning signs of a decent decline. But after about a week or so of time, price action just stayed in this range at about 111 through up to about 120. The rally yesterday's session, or on Thursday, got up to about 130 almost. Now it's falling down to 124, barely getting above the 18 average of highs. So it's really not establishing resistance, but it is band flattening out. So stage one and reversal of trend is coming into play. And short term, the bulls are in control of this market, given that the price action has gotten above this 18 average. So they're putting in a little bit of effort, that if you see that this 18 average of lows is weak, which is right now in at around 114. If price action is staying around that area, resisting anything around within such, that is not going to be good for the short-term move of Litecoin, as we would most likely be looking at a test of a pierce below the 95 level, probably even falling down to about 85. If, of course, that's the situation. And then if not, like we talk about all the reversal of trends, well, then we can start to work with some levels, because it's got to establish a level of resistance. And to me, it's got to go up at least to about 143-ish, 145. But it could have a huge established resistance way up at around 174, even 180-ish with a decent pierce. And then that's how it was, because before, when it established resistance, it established it at that of 234. Actually, technically speaking, you can almost say it kind of established it there, because this needs to go back to the band, and the band flattened out right in here. So that gave you, again, signs on March the 7th, March the 8th. And then now we've had this decent down move. So therefore, it's going to come down to this next little bit. I'd like to see this, let's take a look at the short term, say 3-hour chart to start. I like to see this find a way of supporting around 119 to 118. If it can do something like that, and you can see lift off from there, then yeah, this thing breaking out above 136. even regardless of the fact, breaking above 136. So this is that situation that I talk about where I would be like, okay, I want to put a buy order in to buy Litecoin betweening, say, 139 and 140, 140. And I want to buy, say, 100 Litecoin or whatever. That would be a cool situation to do, because that's really right now what this would come down to. You get very much a decent bullish buy signals at that point. And finally, let's take a look at Litecoin against Bitcoin, which overall, the holding on the sideways range like this is long-term very good, magnificent thing that I'm seeing. So short-term, sure, it's been down. It's had a decent volatility move, going from about twice through multiple times at about 230 change, and now let's see it below 160. Okay, so that's multiple decent. It's a decent sized move for what's just overall just a small blip on this longer term chart. So the whole point of what I'm saying is that the volatility when this thing gets going could be astronomical as well. All right. So then for the daily type time frame, price action, which has been in the 18 average for quite some time, is starting to break down. The last time price action came down, it did so. I have a couple lines in, obviously a little bit above it. I wouldn't be looking too much as this an area for where there'd be support. I would be probably looking next at around 135 to 142 as an area. And that's, of course, if that's the case. And it very easily could, because the fact that it is breaking down below a declining 18 after being in there for several days. And it's got a long ways to go to even attempt to revert the trend, because it's got to get over the 18 average of highs to do such. And right now that would take the price action up to 175. It could very easily do so at any given point, because when people decide it's just time where it's to buy, it just happens. And there's no chart pattern, no mathematical formula, there's no indicator in the world that's going to tell you in advance when that is going to happen. Alrighty then. Thank you for tuning in to this video, and have yourself a magnificent day. Bye-bye.